After almost 12 years, your second album is being released. What took you so long?
Exactly. It didn't really go as fast as one might have hoped. Then again, it's not that easy to make an album as a touring artist, especially in my way. I always wanted to have something to tell when I make one and not just throw out 10 tracks. So therefore, I have been collecting ideas over the last few years until I had a feeling now you can slowly, very slowly think about making an album.
How would you sum up the album musically?
Well, if I could, I would have become an author. I mean, in any case, it has definitely not become a pure dance album, and that was my wish from the very beginning. I tried it. I was very interested in working with different feature artists and making tracks that you can listen to outside of a club. Hence, it has become a listening album, if you will. But I mean, that's me. I always keep an eye on the dance floor, since this is where I'm coming from.
The features are, of course, remarkable. For example, the number and the different directions they come from. Jamie Foxx stands out in particular. How did that collaboration come about?
I mean, we're talking about Jamie Foxx, how crazy is this and unreal. But we met through a mutual friend, Ariel Roman, a movie director, and that's how it all happened. And I have to say, I've always admired Jamie Foxx, not only as an actor, but also as a singer. Of course, at first I thought we would never get together, but when the instrumental was at a point where I thought his voice and the way he sings could fit, it all fell into place somehow. He immediately felt the track. It was very easy and fast, and sang it instantly well. He even sang the track when we met in a restaurant in LA in front of all other guests with a boombox on the phone connected with some boxes and a backpack. At this moment, I knew 100%, and this was a proof that he really liked and felt the track.
And how about the collaboration with Anne Clark?
I mean, Anne Clark, I've been a fan of hers for a very long time, particularly the combination of her poetry and unique voice. That's why it's been my heart's desire for a long time to be able to do something together with her. And I was so happy when I had an instrumental where I thought she could maybe be interested. And she didn't only wrote great lyrics on the track. In the end, I was very happy. I took the chance. She was on board. But she also sent me a very cute, personal and touching letter.
The track together with Planning to Rock, titled Your Love Gives Me Gravity, also stands out. Tell us more.
First time I tried to get a track from Planning to Rock 10 years ago for the Dynamic Charity compilation, and also at the very beginning of the album process. And both times it didn't work out timing-wise, unfortunately. So I'm incredibly happy now that it worked out, since the album was postponed and there was still one track available for a feature, Happy Me. And Your Love Gives Me Gravity became one of my favorite tracks on the album.
The album cover comes from star photographer Andreas Gerski and shows a dance floor filled with people. Doesn't the picture seem like from another era if you look at it with the view of today?
Yes, indeed. This amount of people in one spot does look strange nowadays. Andreas was not only a great photographer, but he has also become a good friend over the years, was kind enough to give me the picture for the album. One photo that he took at May Day a few years ago inspired me for the album cover. When I told him this, he said that he did a quite similar picture 1 year ago during a set of mine at Connect Festival in Düsseldorf. Of course, I was blown away and very thankful. I wasn't even aware that he had been taking photos there. What a gift, a coincidence. 1,000 times thank you again for that, Andreas.
The first single from last summer was called Home. Many people, especially friends of club culture, could relate to the video.
I mean, since early on, the track Home was set as the first single of the album for me, because it was also the first finished track in the course of the production process. I think it has a certain timelessness, you can call it, and represents a lot what I would like to hear in a club. And for the video, we actually found various places where people normally gather to not only listen to music, but to really experience it. Dancing to it together and losing themselves, becoming one with the people around them. A community of like-minded people. With this, I wanted to describe a certain desire that I think we all feel when such places of encounter are closed. Because music needs such special spaces, such melting pots, if you will, in order to reach people, to connect them, to be able to unfold its full power. And that is what I am missing.
The second single, Kreatur der Nacht, was a bit out of the usual sound-wise. What was the inspiration?
That's true. As a child of the 80s, I naturally have a very biographical connection to the sound. It just touches me and brings back all memories from my childhood and youth. That's why I always wanted to make a track that sounds like this, or at least to try. And of course, I've been blessed that I had a lot of help with it. One person I have to give the most credit is one of my best and oldest friends since 20 years, a highly creative person whose opinion I value a lot, also outside of music. He has been very inspiring and supportive for me during the whole journey of the album, so a million thanks to Jakob Grunert. And if I'm already talking about Jakob, then I must also talk about someone who he has brought on board to support me in this project. A longtime friend from Jakob himself, but for me, one of the best producers for electronic music I know and whom I have admired for years, Moritz Friedrich Akasirusmo. With him, I was able to swap ideas over and over during the entire album process, to exchange thoughts, to be inspired. Therefore, thank you so much, my dear Moritz.
How is it to work with a proper band like Isolation Berlin?
The working process with a real band like this is much more elaborate. I mean, you have to meet often and meet over and over again until you finally find some common ground. I would never have been able to do that in 2019. While touring, no chance. And for such a creative process, you simply need someone who connects the people and hold it all together. And I don't know anyone else who would do this the way like my friend Jakob did.
For the music video, you were even able to engage a star director like Fatih Akin. How did that come about?
Fatih and I grew up together in the same neighborhood in Hamburg-Altona. And since he, like me, is also a child of the 80s, I had a hope that he might like the track Kreatur der Nacht. And that's exactly what happened. He really loved it and immediately wanted to make a video for it. Actually, the video was intended to be much more rebellious with an illegal gothic punk party, but it wasn't so easy to tell the story we originally had in mind during the Corona summer.
What did you actually want to tell?
Well, it was intended as a kind of a sequel to Home, portraying the rebellion of the people who miss the rooms we mentioned above, to be able to experience the community that I already talked about in Home. But the heroine of the video, a great young German actress named Mercedes Müller, in the end, after she finally finds the illegal party and the other creatures of the night, has to stay on her own and isolated instead. And sticking to rules is not really the point of a rebellion. But to be frank, that was not an easy thing to tell in the Corona year 2020, of course. Even just the central sentence of the track, I'm not afraid anymore, can be interpreted in many directions. So of course, you had to be very careful not to be misunderstood.
Did you intend the video to be a call to rebel against COVID lockdown measures?
The idea for the video is older than COVID, but I can tell you a bit more about at a later point.
The single Tuk Tuk is a bit out of your usual sound spectrum, isn't it?
Absolutely. I've certainly never released a track like that before. And Ines, the singer of ÄTNA, I must admit, I didn't know her at all until we started collaborating. But what a great artist she is.
She is great in the music video for it, right?
She's amazing. The video is a tribute to the Japanese sukeban movies of the 70s. Sukeban means boss girl in Japanese, so we thought that was fitting for the message of the track where she sings I'm the boss. Of course, it's about a strong woman who is boss and doesn't let anyone tell her what to do, but one more metaphorical level, the protagonist of this video is music. She really has to fight it. I mean, during history, music has been misused or banned, and of course, to this day, music has always won. From this point of view, I mean, Tuk Tuk is perhaps the most important track on the album for me in terms of its message. because it conveys what I wanted to tell with the music video. On the one hand, there is the awakening power that music has, because in the music video too, the schoolgirls are brought back to life at the end, after which they joyfully tear apart their classroom. On the other hand, there is the struggle that music has to fight again and again. Here, metaphorically, it fights against a new invisible threat.
What threat are you referring to?
Unfortunately, I can only tell you that part in its entirety at the very end when all the videos have been released, so we'll have to be patient a little longer. But what I can tell you already, only music has the divine power to touch not only the bodies, but the souls of people and awaken them. That's why the album is called Nobody's Not Loved.
What does the title of the album have to do with it?
I mean, it all started out as a graffiti I saw on the house wall in London like 8-9 years ago. Somehow it stuck with me and I knew I wanted to call my next album like that. But over the years I keep thinking about it and realize what it actually means for me, which is music loves everyone.
What do you mean by music loves everyone?
Precisely, but to explain that, I'll have to be elaborate a bit. I've been traveling in the service of music for many years now, thankfully. I get to travel the world as a DJ, bringing people together through music. One of the most fulfilling professions I can imagine. There is a divine power in music because it really loves every person, whether they are good or bad. So an unconditional love that every human being can experience and feel. I believe in God. I've said that many times, but I would put music on a pair with God, a metaphysical force that can unite all people and love everyone equally.
So music is the key?
In my opinion, music is the key because music has the power to transcend everything. As I mentioned, I also tried to tell that with the music video for the third single, Tuk Tuk. Music has the power to awaken people, to revive them. Everyone knows this. You hear a melody from your childhood and you are right there in your own biography again. A small piece is enough and your whole life reappears. You feel the way you felt back then. For example, the song you connect with your first big love, you hear it in the supermarket and bam, you're 15 years old again and in love for the very first time. It has now been scientifically proven that music can really heal people. A few years ago, I was totally surprised when I read that music can even bring back heavy Alzheimer's patients for a brief moment. Because by bringing up musical moments again, they are reawakened by the memory. Because only music has the power to freeze the momentum. All precious experiences therefore always have a soundtrack. That's why it's so important to create moments at parties or concerts and also to allow them to happen. Because these moments can bring you back to life much later.
Is that the story you want to tell?
Of course, I want to be one of those who, as a DJ, creates moments that people can remember decades later when they hear a song somewhere by chance. Like the song to which you were in love for the very first time. This is the best example. And I don't just do this for others, don't get me wrong. I do this for myself too, to remember it later. In the chorus of the album, there will be 2 more singles with music videos, and I hope that at the very end I will have told the full story.